Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress with a video on missed checkmates in the Candidates Tournament 2018. This position is from round 10, white is Vladimir Kramnik and black is Levon Aronian. This is the position after 36 queen b6 to c7 from Aronian. A blunder in time trouble, because now the knight goes to the back rank, knight e8 check. The queen gives check to the king, and the knight is attacking the queen, and this is a forced checkmate. Black resigned here. Why did he resign? If you play king g8, for example, then it's not good to take the queen. You should not take the queen, because then rook takes f1 check, king takes f1, and black gets a new queen. King f2, rook f7 check, and that is equal. This position is equal. So after king g8, there are several winning moves. They lead to checkmate. Queen takes e6 check wins, or bishop takes e6 check also leads to a quick checkmate. So this video is about missed checkmates, but this was not a missed checkmate. So why did I show this position from round 10? Because of this knight e8 check move, a winning move with the knight going to the bottom rank. The next day, round 11, played on the 23rd of March 2018, we got this position in a game between Ding Liren and Alexander Grishuk. 25 bishop e7 to f6 was the last move, and Ding played bishop b6, attacking the rook. The rook stepped aside, and knight takes e6 was played, check, and the king stepped aside, and now Ding Liren could have won his first game in the tournament after 10 draws with a similar move to the move we saw in Kramnik Aronian. We saw knight f6 to e8 there, and here knight e6 to d8 would have won the game for Ding, but he did not see the move. Why is this so good? Well, if you take that knight with the bishop, then black gets checkmated because of the weak back rank. This bishop is doing a great job in taking the squares on the second rank away from the king, and queen e8 check wins. Queen takes, rook takes e8 is checkmate. Very nice. If after knight d8 you take with the rook, then bishop takes d8 and the same checkmate threat arises. Nothing helps. Queen takes, for example, and we get the same checkmate. Very nice, but Ding didn't see it, so back to the position from the game after king g8. He did not find knight d8, but he played knight takes d5, and that's also winning. Grishuk took that piece, at least is a piece up. A dying person can eat everything, is the saying. And now knight d8 wins again, for the same reason. If you take with the bishop, there is again queen e8 check, queen takes, and checkmate. If you take with the rook, then there is a very strong move, rook takes d5. So this move, knight d8, was screaming to be played. It wins the game on the spot for white, but Ding Liren still didn't see it, even though he must have seen that knight e8 check move from Kramnik the day before. This move, knight d8, did not enter his head, and he was disgusted in the press conference when that move was shown to him by Alexander Grishuk. He played knight f4. He's still winning. This rook on h8 is completely cut off. He can regain the piece on d5 because the bishop is pinned and it's attacked twice. So white is still winning here. Knight f4 was the 29th move, and we're going to jump now to the 73rd move. Rook b4 to b7. We have an endgame, and Ding has not been able to convert his advantage. This endgame is drawn, but it is a very interesting endgame. As you can see, white is an exchange up, has a rook for a knight. Black has two pawns, and of course this pawn on b2 is close to promotion. And black in fact promoted it to get a draw. That new queen needs to be taken by the bishop. Knight takes, and the rook takes on g7, takes black last pawn. So this position is all about the g6 pawn. Can white promote it? Taking a rook is not good, because then the pawn indeed promotes. King takes, and black's pieces are too far away to stop the g-pawn. For example, knight c3, king f7, knight e4, g7, and you cannot stop the pawn promoting, and white wins. So after rook takes g7, you should not take the rook, and of course Grishuk did indeed not do that. He played knight c3. Rook e7, attacking the bishop, bishop d4. And this is a very interesting position. If black will be able to give his bishop for the g-pawn, then he has a draw, because rook against knight is a draw. I made an earlier video on that topic on Chess2Progress. So black wants to give his bishop for the g-pawn, and this bishop has 5 squares to remain on the diagonal. d4, e5, f6, g7 and h8. If the bishop can stay on the diagonal, he will be able to chop off the pawn as soon as g6, g7 is played. Now what about white? The white king can control 2 of these 5 squares, and the white rook can also control 2 of those squares on the diagonal. But 2 plus 2 is 4, and the bishop has 5 squares, so the bishop will always have a safe square. Quite an interesting motif in this endgame. Let's see what happened. Rook d7 attacking the bishop, but the bishop always has a square. King h6, king c2, king g5, king b3, king f5. The bishop still has a square on the diagonal to control the g-pawn. Rook b7 check, king back. Rook h7 attacking the bishop, but it still has a square, this time d4. King e6, king b3, rook d7, and the bishop still has a square, this time h8, rook d8, and now g7 is available for the bishop. King f7, bishop e5, always a square available, rook e8, bishop d4, another check, king back, rook b7, bishop e5, and rook b6. Bishop back, black just marks time, stays on the diagonal, and now white on the 91st move plays his last trick. Rook f6, blocking the diagonal. The threat is now g7 and g8. So white is sacrificing his rook and then wants to run with the pawn. But Grishuk had seen this coming and had this trick covered as well. He has to take, of course. He took, king takes, and now the only move to draw is knight d5 check. King f7, knight back to e3 is the only move to draw, and we'll see why. King f6, knight back, and let's look at a few different king moves now. The move king f7 was played, we'll get to that later, but after king e6, then the game is a draw straight away. With knight f4 check is check, and it will take the pawn on the next move, and then it's a draw. For example, king f5, knight takes, king takes, and we have bare kings on the board. Let's look at another king move. For example, king e5, a little bit more difficult. Knight e7 draws. It attacks the pawn, so you have to play the pawn up, otherwise black will take it on the next move. g7, king d3, king f6, and now knight g8 check is the only move that draws. King f7, knight h6 check, king g6, knight g8, and black is either on the promotion square or is controlling the promotion square, and white cannot chase the knight further away. Okay, so after knight d5 check, king f7 was played again, knight back to e3, a move repetition, and now Ding saw that there was no way to win this game. He played g7 to show the audience what would happen. Knight f5, the only move. Here the game was drawn on the 96th move. They could have shown the rest. The pawn is attacked, so you have to promote here. And then there is knight h6 check with a lovely knight fork. Those knights are tricky pieces. King g7, knight takes, king takes, and we have a draw on move 99. titanic battle between Ding and Grishuk, and Ding must have been very frustrated that he made his 11th draw out of 11 games, because knight d8 was a move that somebody of his caliber should see, and he must have had a bad night's sleep that night, but it didn't stop him from winning in round 12 against Shahryar Mamedyarov with the black pieces. Hope you enjoyed this video about the missed checkmates in Ding against Grishuk. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Progress channel, and please leave a comment. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. I'm trying to grow the Chess to Progress channel, and those shares will really help. You also may want to check out my main channel, Chess to Impress, where I do daily videos on the Candidates Tournament. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Progress. Thank you for watching.